Come on.
That's Kevin.
And we're implicitly biased.
Kevin Lee. Are you any relation to General?
Somebody said that there was some relationship somewhere. Or maybe my dad just liked it. I don't know.
So you're one of those confederations?
No, I don't like it at all.
You're one of those confederations?
No, because I used to. I really did. I used to have a Confederate flag that I float up on my ceiling, and I used to think it was so cool. Now I don't. And I don't know what changed, but like those Texans, in the stupidest way possible, they say, remember the Alamo, where they got their butts absolutely handed to them by the Mexicans. Why would I want to celebrate the Confederate flag everywhere I go? The only place that I will consider the Confederate flag, you don't mess with it, is on top of the General Lee car from Dukes of Hazzard. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, but did you see the one that they made, this General Grant?
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's
if you have both of those, that's freaking dope.
That is dope.
Yeah.
But that's the only place that I say just leave that alone. And I don't care about that flag anywhere else. I just don't. I don't care about the history of it. I don't care anything about it. Because supporting that flag, waving that flag proudly, whatever, is just like the Texans saying, remember the Alamo. Remember the time we got our butts absolutely handed to us. It's stupid to me.
Well, I don't know. My viewpoint on it is I always try to see everybody's perspective and everything that whenever I'm having any conversation, I try my best not to let my implicit bias enter into the conversation and just see things for what they are. Once I do that, then I allow my implicit bias to have its way, and then I make my decision based off of what's best for me. But on the basis, I always try to say, okay, let's look at everybody's perspective to be as fair as possible. And then I'm like, okay, I get where everybody's coming from. Now, for me, I think that's stupid. You know what I mean? That's where I try to take every situation. When doing that, in the situation of the Confederate flag, to me, it just seems like it is the only reason people still use it and wave it is to try to stir up an emotion in somebody else. That's the absolute only reason that I can find, because when you're talking about, oh, it's a part of history. Yeah, you know how many things we could bring up that are a part of history. And the thing that's in that history that has written and woven into that history is a history of violence, hatred, segregation. I mean, a history of fear mongering. I mean, everything that represents from history, from the American experience, is negative. There's nothing positive about that. So for you to say like, oh, that's a part of history, correct. But what it shows us of history is the worst that America had. Not to say that all the people who were in the South were bad, but what they were fighting for was something that was negative. You know what I mean? And that was the flag. You know, that when you wave certain flags, you're saying this is what I represent. When you wave a flag, or this goes back from medieval times. They called it the standard. When you held up certain standards, you knew what that meant. You know, if Richard the Lionheart was coming, you knew what that meant. You know, when that flag was waved, you knew, oh my God, the might of the English army is about to come and it's about to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If the Ottoman Empire waved their flag, you knew, oh, the might of the Ottoman Empire is about to come and they're about to do da-da-da-da-da-da. When you wave that flag, it incites those same kind of feelings. Oh, I know what that means. I know what that represents. That represents da-da-da-da-da-da. You see what I'm saying? And so for people to, you know, proudly display that and try to make it seem like it's some noble thing or some heritage thing, I find it laughable. And I find that they are usually just immature or blatantly racist, because there is no other ground really for you to be on when you have that. I could respect it if you had every flag that was represented in America, from the circle one with the, what is it, 12 or whatever, and you had every flag that represented the American nation, deal. put that up there.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Showing the whole history.
Yeah, but when you're just flying that one flag, all you're trying to do is stir up an emotion. Whether it be you're trying to rile up, people that you don't like, whether it be you're trying to rile up people that you do like, or you're trying to make a statement against something, all you're doing is just purposely trying to sow a negative, or I can't even say negative. You're purposely trying to sow an emotion, and I think that just shows immaturity or that you're blatantly racist.
Well, I think flags in general are there to show an emotion. It doesn't matter what they are.
Right.
And definitely that one has its certain set of emotions that it shares.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with you on that because, the American flag is supposed to stir up this feeling of patriotism. When people fly flags from their heritage, it's an emotion of love or they miss it or. So, yeah. And then, if you what state is that actually has that in its state flag? It's like Alabama or Mississippi,
South Carolina or something.
Okay, I can live with that. If you're flying, like if I'm flying the Arizona flag because that's my home and I'm over in Alaska, well then I want to fly my state flag. That's part of the state deal. I can live with that. But when you have just a flat out Confederate flag, to me it just seems like there's nothing that's good can come from that.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do, there's just nothing that can come out of that's positive. So right now you're just trying to be a negative force in the world. You're trying to be a negative force.
And it may not even be a negative force, but if you take that criticism and then turn it into a negative force, because truth be told, you could fly that just because you've always flown it. It was your implicit bias. You were raised that way. You flew it. You don't know why you fly it.
Right.
But you're not necessarily raised a racist. You just fly that and that is your family history of flying that flag. And a guy like you who comes in with, you've shut your implicit bias off to find out kind of why you fly that. You're not necessarily going to say, hey, take that down because you can bring it up to them. Hey, why do you fly that?
Right.
And figure out why these people, because lots of people I did it just because I did it.
Right.
My dad had flown it at some point or had stuff. You go to car shows, you go to this, you go to that, you always see it.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'll follow that. Bands I like, Leonard Skinner I liked. Right. They had it on everything. So I just did it because it was in that group of things that I liked. So I kept on doing it. You bringing that up to the person just could open their eyes.
Right.
If they didn't have their implicit bias turned on. Right. And take offense immediately to, well, why are you saying I can't do that?
Right.
Is it because you're black? Is it because of this? Is it because of that?
Right.
But to nail the point, for me, now my implicit bias, when I see that flag, I see just really why. Like, are you trying to stir up your fellow people, or are you trying to stir up the opposite side, or you just fly it because whatever?
Right.
Regardless, it's to me is like open carrying a gun. I think it's stupid.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to go over there and tell you can't do it.
Right.
I'll ask you why you do it.
Right.
Because the First Amendment, you have your right to do what you want to do. Second Amendment, you have your right to carry a gun. I'm not going to say don't open carry.
Right.
I think tactically it's stupid.
Absolutely. It's for the same reason as the flag is stupid.
Tactically carrying a flag like that is stupid. Because there's going to be people that see that and immediately it lights them up and they're going to want to fight.
Exactly.
They're going to want to do stupid things.
Exactly.
So that's my whole thing on that.
Yeah. But see, the thing, I'll say two things. The first thing is when it comes to the gun argument in relation to that, is I 100% agree, because for the exact same reasons, when you open carry a gun, you're trying to do something. Either you're trying to intimidate somebody, or even if you're using it for your own protection, or you're trying to show, hey, I'm the guy in the room that I'll protect you, or I'm the safe guy in the room. Bottom line is if there is an attack, you're the first one to be attacked.
Yes.
Because you've opened the door for you to be the first one to be attacked. I would never know, whatever your political views are, I would never even think to look at you any other kind of way if you didn't fly that flag. But when you fly that flag, I know you're the person that I need to direct whatever my attack may be at. You get what I'm saying? And so that's for the same reason. Like you're just setting yourself up for whatever may come your way, and then you're asking for it essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
You're asking for whatever may come your way, and I don't appreciate that. The other thing the thing I wanted to say was, a lot of times I see those people who wave the Confederate flag. They're also waving, swastikas or the Nazi flag or something like that. And I'm like, you realize that has nothing to do with American history,
right?
And so, what does that mean? You know what I mean? That has
especially when they'll defend the American history of the Confederate flag,
right,
while waving a Nazi flag. That was basically everything against American American standards,
exactly,
and beliefs and everything.
Exactly. So when they say that, I'm like,
it again shows their stupidity.
And I'm like, you realize they're both losers, right? Like,
not only that, but
they both lost.
Like, one lost bad, one was terrible and then lost.
Right.
Well, they were both terrible and then lost, but I would say that the Nazi flag was worse than the Confederate flag.
I can't say that.
You don't think so?
I can't say that because the reason I can't say that, and again, both of our biases are showing right now. The reason I can't say that is because when you have 100 and some odd years of something,
instead
of whatever it was, 5 years or so, whatever it was, and when you have numbers that probably are triple the amount of people who were dead or people who, it happened quicker here, and it was much more of a blitz over here, whereas it was a long-term breaking down of people's bodies, breaking down of a culture, destroying people. I mean, I was watching a documentary the other day, and this lady was talking about how they would literally work people to death. Yeah. Strong, well-bodied, well-able people were literally being worked from sunrise to sunset until their bodies shut down.
Yeah.
The gas chambers were quicker, and they were, people were starving. But can you imagine being literally physically worked at gunpoint with fear of being shot, whipped, put the dog set on you from sunrise to sunset, year in and year out? I mean, so I can't say in my mind, they're the same.
Terrible.
They're awful. They're both awful. And the fact that you would want to represent the ideology of either one of those kind of means you're a douche, in my opinion. And that's just my personal opinion. Somebody else may say, oh, you're a hero, you're a historian, whatever. You're just kind of a jerk, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Okay.
For either one of them.
Yeah.
All right, well, Black Power. I mean, like, subscribe. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Anyways, like, subscribe, share. Kevin's going to cut that last part out. Don't worry about it.
No, it's staying there. Peace. We out.